The Outbreak Perfected is one of the coolest looking and sounding exotic weapons in the game, and Bungie just reintroduced the exotic mission 0 Hour for us to grind and now be able to craft and customize our outbreaks to our liking. But is this reprisal worth your time to grind out like every week and start unlocking crafting options? Is it going to be a force in PvP specifically, right? That's what I want to talk about today, because I think this is one of those weapons that people really want it to be good, just because it's so dang cool. There's no doubt that this thing is really strong in PvE because of the Siva damage potential. That hasn't changed, and you now have like rewind rounds, so you can just apply more Siva to bigger targets. But I really want to dial in on its potential in PvP. So first, let me mention, because people will be upset if I don't, you can unlock the Outbreak Perfected that's craftable right now by going to the tower and visiting 801, who will give you a new exotic quest. You'll then need to go to complete a 0 Hour exotic mission. I recommend grabbing a couple of friends or clanmates, or using the in-game LFG to get a group together, since interest will likely be really high right now. Once you complete the mission, you'll get your base version of the Outbreak. It's different this time around. The old one had no stock options in the final column, but the new one has access to 4 different stocks, which further enhance the base stats. So right out of the gate, it's objectively better than the previous version. The stock version now comes with fitted stock, which grants 10 more stability and brings the recoil direction up to 100 with a small 5 handling penalty. So more stability, better recoil than the first version of the gun. So right out of the gate, yeah, you gotta make time to go get the new one and replace your old one. After that, you'll be required to do 2 more steps to unlock the first crafting option this week, which gives you access to Rapid Hit, which I believe is probably the best perk that you can get on this thing for PvP, so it's nice that it's available this week. Unlocking this involves hitting a couple of switches in the legend version of the mission about halfway through the mission before you go down to Trevor, and then after you hit the switches, you just need to complete a legend run, and after that, you'll be able to craft the version of the weapon that I'm running in the background footage. Alright, now that that's out of the way, let's explore the initial question. Is this thing any good in PvP? I'm going to give you the TLDR summary up front, and then we'll unpack it. So Outbreak Perfected is an excellent weapon in a family that sort of has a crisis of identity. While Outbreak can be a great kill chaining weapon in the chaos of 6s by applying extra Siva damage across the battlefield, it still lacks the raw dueling chops to keep pace with the popular primary choices of the current sandbox in a 3v3 or more competitive environment. High fun factor, very good within its family, but overall it's limited by its bones. So that's the TLDR, let's unpack it. Lightweight pulse rifles still fail to impress me even after the recent buffs. Basically, the only way that I personally can see to make them really work well is by fully leaning into their kill chaining potential by leveraging damage buffs like, specifically, Kill Clip to send it into 2 burst kill territories, which is a really lightning fast TTK. They're actually really good at specifically kill chaining for that reason. But as general dueling weapons, they're still pretty outclassed in just about every meaningful metric. Let's talk about TTK, dueling distance, ease of use, forgiveness, etc. Starting with TTK, lightweights like the Outbreak Perfected have a base TTK of 0.87 seconds if you hit 7 crits in one body across your first 3 bursts. But right now, the Crucible has a lot of LC's rifles, blast furnaces that are 2 burst killing people for optimal TTKs of 0.73 and 0.67 seconds, with similar requirements in terms of headshot to body shot ratios. Also, Rose and Luna's Howl are both extremely popular choices right now, with one major difference. Yeah, they have the same optimal TTK as Outbreak, but these hand cannons are extremely forgiving. You need to hit 1 shot at a time instead of 3 bullets across a full burst at a time, and that 1 shot that you do take, it's got 20 more aim assist at base than the Outbreak burst does. On top of that, most Rose users are leveraging things like Opening Shot or Eye of the Storm, which grants even more aim assist and accuracy to make the bullet magnetize even more towards your head. So let's be honest for a second, hand cannons are sort of seen as like the high skill weapon in Destiny 2, but they're really forgiving, right? The most used hand cannons have almost maximum aim assist. Rose hits max aim assist with the a lot of the popular roles people are using on it. They're some of the most forgiving weapons in the game. I love using them. They're super fun, super dynamic, and I think that's why they're so popular, just because you can do a lot of tricky movement tech with hand cannons, and that's great. But I also kind of hate it when people pretend that they're like the benchmark for player skill. Like, you're not fooling anyone. We can all see the 95 aim assist stat on your gun. But anyways, all this to say, hand cannons are super popular in the current sandbox, and with them having the same TTK, but being easier to pull it off, that means you'll be fighting an uphill battle with the Outbreak Perfected in many of your duels. And lastly, we need to mention dueling distance. You would think that a pulse rifle would be ideal in longer lanes, generally speaking, but the lightweight family has a basic design philosophy that Bungie built into them. They're meant to have high handling and really low range for pulse rifles. So that means the Outbreak is really just going to excel at that medium range, where currently the Igneous Hammer is king alongside auto rifles like the Summoner. So you can see how the Outbreak is kind of limited by its archetype here, fighting against some pretty meta choices, while also not having the kill clip option that other lightweights have to make them more exceptional kill chaining weapons. But let's pivot and have a little bit of good news, talk about what the weapon does have going for it. I mean, there's no way around it. Nanites are friggin' dope. Like, whenever you get a precision kill in PvP, there's going to be an explosion of a small localized cloud of nanites. And these Siva nanites, they'll seek out and damage other enemies nearby, and anyone getting swarmed by your nanites is also going to take more damage from your Outbreak Perfected bullets as you're shooting them in the middle of that swarm. So this leads to lots of multi-kills. In the gameplay, sometimes I'll just kill one person, and then it'll be like, stacks will be like triple kill, because the nanites primed 2 more targets I couldn't even see that my teammates then finished up, and I got credit for them. So honestly, kill chaining with this thing is super fun when you get rapid hit fully spun up while taking on multiple opponents, while also deploying lots of nanites and choke points for big follow-up damage to other players. And there's a lot of build synergy here if you wanted to run something like, chromatic fire for even more, explosive headshot, synergy there. You've got the Void Soul, which could, also do trickle damage to enemies in the area of your nanite clouds. So in 6s, you can, really full send and go hard on some cool kill streaks with the Outbreak Perfected, and I really like that. But let's hit the base stats here real quick, then we'll talk about crafting recommendations. So the Outbreak has 44 base range, which is more than the Ogma or the Stay Frosty, Chattering Bone, etc. But unfortunately, it only has 17 zoom value compared to Stay Frosty's 18, Ogma's 19. So while range isn't directly tied to zoom anymore, zoom does have a big impact on dueling distance. It impacts recoil, it impacts the ability to hit your full burst into the head at longer distances instead of having the bullets go high over your target after, the first couple of bullets hit. So that 17 zoom, it isn't great. The base stability is also quite low, unfortunately, which means getting your full burst on targets further away is going to be even more of a challenge. And that makes the existence of stocks on it sort of lackluster, since they're basically just there to make up for the bad stability. The aim assist is also quite low at 65 for the lightweight family, with most of the lightweights being, at 70 or well above 70. So honestly, I really wish they would have full sent on making this thing a real stat monster. It's been far too power crept to be fully competitive with these base stats, even with the inclusion of stocks. We do have 4 perks to choose from when crafting this thing, as well as stocks. So those perks are Rapid Hit, Rewind Rounds, Head Seeker, and Outlaw. So Outlaw is the original perk here, but Rapid Hit is obviously the superior choice, since you're gonna be activating it when you get a headshot kill anyways. So you may as well do Rapid Hit, because then when you get a headshot kill, not only do you have increased reload speed, but you also have big buffs to stability as well. Rewind Rounds is probably the play for PvE if you're looking to do big damage to big targets without worrying about reloading as often. So you can just keep attaching nanites and keep pulling the trigger and stacking your nanite damage there. Head Seeker is a really great perk on pulses. It's not a bad choice here by any stretch of the imagination, but it's also one of those perks that gets more or less mileage based on the archetype of the weapon that it's on. So while it's S tier on hard-hitting pulses like Blast Furnace, Messenger, LCs, it's not so much going to be as consistently directly helpful in your engagements on a lightweight pulse rifle, the way that Rapid Hit will be in basically every duel. So I think Rapid Hit is your play here. For your stocks, you've got Hand-Laid Stock for plus 10 stability, Composite Stock for plus 5 handling and plus 5 stability, Short Action Stock for plus 15 handling, and Fitted Stock for plus 10 stability, plus 20 to your recoil direction, and a small -5 penalty to handling. So my recommendation for building this thing is ultimately going to be, I think, hammer forged for your barrel, accurized rounds for your mag, rapid hit, and fitted stock. That will get you a 100 recoil direction and a pretty evenly spread stat distribution with 64 range, which is nice, 50 stability, and 40 handling. But we'll have to wait to get all of those barrels and mags unlocked, but in the meantime, you can totally use the base version plus rapid hit when you get it unlocked. It does just fine. All in all, my final verdict on the reprised craftable Outbreak Perfected in PvP is that it is comfortably B+ material. It's not bad enough to be a detriment to you and your team, but taking it to its fullest potential is going to require some solid execution on your part. It can work well in 6s for kill chaining, but in 3s you might struggle to get into a good rhythm against other mainstream dueling primaries out there right now. It's a high fun factor gun that looks great and feels great, but it won't be shattering any PvP metas in the immediate future. Thanks so much for watching the video. Please feel free to leave a like if you enjoyed it and drop a comment below and let me know what you think of the returning Outbreak Perfected and what score you would give it personally. Be warm and well fed, my friends, and I hope to catch you in the Crucible.